All right, so another fun way to add some interest and pizzazz to your backgrounds is by adding some metallics and shimmery things. So I'm using Pinata Brass for this. Pinata Brass doesn't get affected by isopropyl. I often will use Ranger Metallics, but they only like being used with the blender solution. There's something about the resins in the blender solution that help them to blend properly. They don't get grainy. But for this, we're going to use the Pinata because it doesn't go weird. Now, let's get the lid off. There we go. So I made sure that it was shaken really, really well. And then I'm just going to add dots. I'm going to leave those as is for this one. In the next video, we are going to, I'll blend it around a little bit. And then in this one, I've got this Marabou Rainbow alcohol ink, which is really, really pretty. It too has a little ball in it that you want to shake around and make sure that it is shaken really nicely. So this one again, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm not sure if you can see in the camera how pretty that is. It's just it's almost like glitter. So you'll definitely see it. It's a subtle shimmer, and it will be really pretty in the background. So we're gonna let these completely dry, and then we will pull the prints from them. All right, so our alcohol ink has dried. Let's pull the prints with these metallics. And that rainbow shimmer, I just discovered that recently, and it's just got the prettiest look to it. There we go. Once again, make sure that we got really good contact between the paint and the paper. How pretty that metallic is, just shimmering there. And then hopefully the camera shows you the shimmer from that rainbow sparkle. It looks like a really subtle fine glitter in the background. And of course, because we didn't move it around, it's in kind of blotches, but this time we will move it around a little bit, get a little bit more movement out of it. Put all the 4 colors on there. All right, where did I put my brass? Oh, there it is. All right, so I'm going to put some spots of the brass. I'm going to use an alcohol ink blower to move it around. Same as moving it around on like Yupo paper or alcohol ink paper. You could also use, I like to use this, it's a hair tool, but it's got a cool setting to it and it's got low voltage. I like to use this with my alcohol inks as well, and it doesn't have any heat to it. You could also use this to speed up your alcohol ink drying if you choose. Now let's try these guys here, the rainbow shimmer. And you definitely get more of an all-over look when you're using the alcohol ink blower to move it around. As soon as you have it how you like it, leave it alone to dry. It is going to move a little bit as it dries. That's totally fine, but it's going to kind of stay in the same-ish place. So I'm going to let that completely dry, and I'll be back to pull the print. Right, we're all dry. Let's pour it or pull the print. So with jelly printing, there's just so many different options. It's part of what makes it addicting. You start thinking of different ways you can use them, different mediums you can use to create texture, different mediums that you could use on them. And you never know how something's going to work until you try it out. All right. Trying to pull this up so it's in line. sure it's got good contact. And there we go. So you see how that is much more spread out. Where did I put the other one? Then, there you go. And that one there too. I don't know where I tucked them to the side. They're somewhere around here. We'll find them. So the metallics are definitely a lot more spread out in those ones compared to the first one. So there's one other way that we are going to add some metallics, and it's not through metallic alcohol inks. So I'm going to put the inks on here, same as the very first one. And you can see that I'm not being very careful at all because I'm just creating a background. Move them around a bit. And then we will let those completely dry, and I'll see you back here when they are. All right, so for this background, we're going to go back to using stamps on the alcohol ink in order to remove some of the ink. So I've got a script stamp here that I'm going to use, and I'm not even going to worry about stamping it on something else just because I'm using the Stays On with this one so that it just pulls the ink, and I'm not going to bother stamping with whatever it pulls because we know that it's just going to be pretty much gray. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm doing the same technique for both of them. I'm just using two different stamps just so that you see a bit of a difference with the pattern. That's it. So once again, stamping it, I hold it in one place with one hand, press firmly with the other to make sure that it's all got good contact with the plate, and pull it up. So in order to get the shimmer for this one, I'm going to use a pearlescent paint. You could also use a metallic paint. This is one that I was playing around with before where I used a gold metallic, but remember how I said the alcohol inks are transparent? So by using a gold, it affected the colors of the alcohol ink as well. Not that it's wrong, it's just not the look that I was going for when I was thinking about it. So by using the pearlescent one here, it's going to show a little bit more of the true colors of the alcohol ink. All right. You could also use a silver. I mean, really, you can use whatever you want. Now, this particular paint is a lot thicker than the other stuff that I've been using. So you can see as I'm rolling it out that it's got a little bit of texture on there. There we go. Let's get the excess off of here and pull the prints. So it affected the alcohol ink in the center. It started lifting it up a little bit because that paint was thicker and it affected it, but I love all the texture that it creates. So once again, not right, not wrong, just personal preference. This one didn't affect it at all, but it's got a nice pearly shimmer, and even the alcohol ink looks a little bit pearly because of that paint behind it. So I'm just going to see if I can pull this up, that stuff that's in the center there, just because I want to have a clean plate for the next section. So stuff like that you can even use if you have an art journal. You can be doing it in your art journal just to add a little bit of texture to something. You could put it over top of another jelly print. There we go. I'm going to leave the rest as is, and I will see you in the next section, and we will go over a different way to add some texture to your backgrounds.